You own one. You've lost dozens. For over 3,000 years, the umbrella has lived a life you'd never suspect. Raised above gods and kings as sacred proof of authority, wielded to shame any man seen carrying one in public, and in 1978, used to kill a Cold War dissident with a single poisoned sting at a London bus stop. Its dark journey begins not with rain, but with power. More than 5,000 years ago, the earliest known canopy was carved onto a stone mace head belonging to King Narmer, now preserved in Oxford's Ashmolean Museum. This ancient Egyptian artifact, along with the Scorpion King mace head, depicts a long-handled sunshade positioned directly behind the ruler. This was the behead, a ceremonial emblem of divine presence. Across the ancient world, from the Nile to the Yellow River, the early predecessor of the modern umbrella served as a sacred barrier rather than a shield against the weather. In the Neo-Assyrian Empire during the 8th century BC, stone reliefs from Nimrud captured King Tiglath-Pileser III in his chariot beneath a tasseled state parasol held by a eunuch. In ancient India, the multi-tiered chhatra rose above sacred figures, while in pre-Qin China, early non-collapsible frames of grass and bamboo known as gai guarded the nobility. For millennia, these structures did not protect against storms. They protected the divine and the powerful from the gaze of the common world, casting a shadow of absolute authority long before they ever met a drop of rain. In these ancient courts, the shadow cast by a parasol was a strictly regulated privilege. While commoners lived entirely exposed to the elements, the ruling class moved within artificial, portable sanctuaries. To raise a canopy as an ordinary citizen was ceremonially unthinkable. The shadow itself belonged to power. Imperial administrations devised elaborate codes to script status directly into the object's design. The number of stacked tiers, the color of the silk, and the overall height of the frame signaled precise rank. Red and yellow fabric belonged solely to the sovereign, while lesser officials were restricted to blue. In some royal courts, a throne remained useless until a 9-tiered white canopy was raised above it. This visual language of status turned a simple frame of wood and cloth into a physical barrier between classes. For thousands of years, the canopy remained a tool of exclusion, a portable boundary separating the ruler from the ruled. But as trade routes expanded, this sacred instrument would slip into the hands of ordinary citizens, and centuries later, it would become a weapon of quiet execution on a cold city street. In classical Greece and Rome, the sacred royal canopy transformed into a tool of elite gender and class performance. Known to the Greeks as the skiadeon, and later to the Romans as the umbraculum, the portable sunshade became the exclusive domain of wealthy women. 5th century red figure water jars, or hydriae, depict these delicate linen frames held not by the noblewomen themselves, but by enslaved domestic servants walking a step behind. This arrangement transformed shade into a physical luxury. Pale skin served as a direct social currency, visual proof that a woman was free from the manual labor of the fields. For men, however, carrying such an object carried a steep social cost. Roman and Greek writers openly mocked any man holding a parasol, branding him as soft and effeminate. Status was now measured by the shadow one could command, though the gender lines of this protection remained absolute. Waterproof umbrellas, constructed from heavy waxed silk and oiled canvas, began appearing on the rain-slicked streets of London in the early 18th century. Yet for a British man, carrying this new invention was a social hazard. Public sentiment quickly branded the accessory as a symbol of foreign affectation, linking it directly to French effeminacy. Street urchins and hackney coachmen jeered at anyone walking beneath the frames, shouting insults through the downpour. The mockery was deeply rooted in class dynamics. Holding an umbrella exposed a pedestrian as too poor to afford a hired carriage. What should have been a simple, practical shield against the weather instead became a public embarrassment, forcing men to choose between a soaking rain and a ruined reputation. In the early 1750s, an eccentric English philanthropist named Jonas Hanway decided to break the social deadlock. Returning to London from his travels abroad, Hanway began walking the rain-lashed streets holding a large canopy-style umbrella. For nearly 30 years, he refused to put it down. The daily strolls made Hanway a prime target for public fury. His most aggressive enemies were the city's hackney coachmen and sedan chair carriers. These transport workers relied on sudden downpours to force desperate pedestrians into hiring expensive rides. To them, Hanway's portable roof was not just an oddity, it was a direct threat to their livelihood. They pelted him with rubbish and tried to splash him with street mud as they drove past. Yet Hanway simply ignored the abuse. Year after year, his stubborn routine wore down London's resistance. By the time of his death in 1786, the device had become so common that Londoners briefly nicknamed the umbrella a Hanway. His persistent walking transformed a piece of foreign mockery into an essential tool of British life. 1851, an industrialist in Sheffield named Samuel Fox fundamentally changed the anatomy of the umbrella. Fox patented the Paragon frame, a structure of thin, U-shaped steel ribs that replaced heavy wood and whalebone. This lightweight steel made the umbrella incredibly strong, highly flexible, and cheap to manufacture. Almost overnight, factories began churning out thousands of identical, mass-produced frames. The silk canopies of the elite gave way to durable, plain, black fabric. As prices plummeted, the umbrella shifted from an aristocratic luxury into a mass-market commodity. It became the default accessory of the modern commuter. This industrial success did something remarkable. It made the umbrella boring. By stripping away its exclusive aura, mass production rendered the object culturally invisible, ready to hide in plain sight. On the afternoon of September 7th, 1978, Bulgarian writer and dissident Georgi Markov stood at a busy bus stop near London's Waterloo Bridge. He was waiting for his commute, blending perfectly into the crowd of ordinary citizens. Suddenly, he felt a sharp, stinging pain in the back of his right thigh. Markov spun around. Behind him, a man was bending down to retrieve an umbrella from the wet pavement. The stranger apologized in a thick accent, quickly hailed a taxi, and disappeared into the London traffic. Markov paid little attention to the brief encounter, continuing his journey home. But by that evening, a severe fever set in. His temperature soared, and his physical condition collapsed with terrifying speed. Doctors at St. James's Hospital struggled to identify the cause of his sudden illness as his organs began to fail one by one. 4 days after the incident at the Waterloo bus stop, the 49-year-old exile was dead. During the autopsy, pathologists examining the puncture wound in Markov's thigh extracted a microscopic metallic sphere. Constructed from an alloy of platinum and iridium, the pellet measured just 1.5 millimeters across, roughly the size of a pinhead. Microscopic analysis revealed two tiny holes drilled at 90-degree angles designed to hold less than a milligram of ricin. A sugar-like wax coating, engineered to melt at human body temperature, had sealed the poison inside until it entered his bloodstream. British intelligence linked this specialized weapon to the Bulgarian Secret Service, assisted by the Soviet KGB. Yet despite decades of diplomatic pressure, the case went cold. No one was ever convicted, and the identity of the assassin on the bridge remains officially unresolved. Today, the umbrella remains the ultimate disguise, hiding in plain sight. Its real power is no longer status, but absolute invisibility. When the rain falls, we still reach for the perfect cover. What else is walking beside you? Share your thoughts below.